the Tao becomes the most fundamental point and object in space and time. So if you were to take every any object in creation, and if you stretch it out, through the molecules, through the atoms, through the nucleus of the atom, into the fundamental parts of all matter, you get to a place inside that would be like a field, like a quantum field, the point where the physical structure is lost. It would just be at that point energy. It would be like energy stretched out, like a vibration. And then you go into the midst and the source of that point where everything essentially flows as the same fundamental field everywhere and everything at that point. That becomes the Tao. That becomes the Tao. The presence of the Tao then flows through everything. As the Tao essentially represents omnipotence. The Tao is able to push and stretch everything out in this natural, seamless, organic way that fits with modern quantum mechanics and quantum physics and understandings of quantum physics. The Tao would actually be a something of a quantum field, if as it's been understood by me from reading the Tao Te Ching and by understanding the presence of God. The presence of God is also described as being all in all, so omnipotence. In other words, God would be present in all things and through all things. So what you would arrive at would have to be the same exact concept of omnipotency, a field that flows through everything that exists. The only difference in distinction with God and with the principle of the Tao would be omnipresence. Being described as presence would be within that same field the ability to affect potency. So you have presence and potency being in the same place at the same exact quantum point. In that field arises both the omnipresence and the omnipotency, because God sees all, God is in all things, through all things, and also is conscious of all things. So all things are absorbed into and also being formed. So it's the forming and the presence is an absorption, and potency is the effect. So those two are really the same exact thing in the full understanding of God, since God is all in all, everywhere, in all things and through all things. The moment something becomes potency in any form of energy, any form of motion, any form of sound, light, things that were described as presence or consciousness, would be simultaneously being projected by God and also received by God. So it's arriving out of the same field as it's also being brought into the same field. Since the field is everywhere and constant, the presence and the potency is exactly the same thing. The presence and the potency is everywhere. And so the Tao is a bridge point to understanding this and understanding the all-encompassing presence of God. That's what the Tao allows for if properly understood as flowing through all of nature, flowing through the the heavens flowing through the earth, the sky, the waters, and every single plant and animal in the world, every cell, every cellular structure, every molecule, every atom, every nucleus of the atom, every fundamental quark, and down into that depth of that energy field that's constant in the depths of the universe. That at a certain point it becomes the same. It all becomes one. It all becomes the same. It's all captured by the Tao, where the Tao meets in the midst of all things. And that then stretches out and spreads out everywhere as all in all. And so, just as God is spirit, God is beyond the physical matter by being both in all things and through all things. So God is also in the midst of the physical matter of an object. God is also through it. So it's a field passing through the physical object. So it's both physical and in God. It's also non-physical at the same time. Everything is spiritual. Everything is stretched out into that infinite realm, into the Tao, into in the same way the Tao stretches and passes through everything. And that would be the Genesis account gives detail that Elohim was there in the beginning, before heaven and earth, before everything became and stretched out. So Elohim forms, and in the spirit, in the invisible realm, everything that's projected as matter, stars, material, planets, people, all objects and things are formed from the same invisible realm. God is the invisible God. And then the Hebrew uses the word tov as the substance of the presence of God. God sees that it is tov. God sees that it is good. So that's the universal harmony and flow through all of creation, up through the 6 days of creation and the seventh day, where God rests, where His presence and His potency is all equal. It's all in harmony completely as one, and that's formed in Tov, in the eye of God. Presence and potency all in the same point, as all in all things and through all things. So you have Tov arising from inside of God. God sees that it is Tov, but God sees everywhere. So everywhere becomes Tov. Everything becomes Tov. Becomes Ta or Tao or To or Tao. Complete absolute oneness and harmony. So the whole ecological system of the whole earth, as being described in Genesis, was one with the harmony of the omnipotency and the omnipresence of God. No being had ever altered or changed or affected anything outside of God, outside of that. And you have man and woman perfectly in harmony in Eden. And then you have the snake comes along into harmony, into perfection, into Eden, and instructs them in the knowledge of good and evil, or now Tao and Ra, which is good and evil. So to attempt to philosophically be in harmony with the Tao, with the good, and to comprehend and understand the evil. So you have right there a dualism and a law that's being formed within a perfect and whole nature, where God saw that it was good. Now you have people attempting to be like God by being aware of these principles, aware of and attempting to, in a sense, act out and force that harmony and act in a religious way, rather than be a part of the natural order and flow with the Tao in an effortless form, in an effortless form of nature in Eden, like as with an animal, a bird or an animal. There's no instruction, there's no law, there's no religion for these animals, for a dolphin or for a bird. They don't experience this, and that would be the pure principle of being in absolute harmony with nature and with God, as it was in Genesis when Adam and Eve were in perfect harmony and the glory of God flowed everywhere and through everything as all in all. And that's what Jesus has come to redeem and to restore, so that people can to walk in the midst of the paradise of God once again and be one with God.